numbers, and that's exactly what you're doing. So I'll get to Honorable now. You are in the National Assembly, and so really want to know if the word of caution, which came from the President yesterday, asking that you ensure that only projects that will benefit Nigerians stay in the 2024 budget, if that's exactly what the National Assembly will be doing, or you intend to infuse your own projects or take out some projects you think are not important. And then, you know, a lot of worry for some Nigerians looking at the budget, and I'm sure that will be one of the concerns of the Speaker yesterday, talking about the impact being felt by Nigerians, will be the issue of security. In 2022, we saw the budget go up in 2.29 trillion. In 2023, 2.98 trillion was budgeted, and now for 2024, we're expecting 3.2 trillion. Do you really think that we should continue in that direction, looking at what has happened in the past, that, you know, despite the money going to that sector, we don't, Nigerians don't seem to feel the impact?
Well, you see, the good thing that has happened to our country, the change of government, May 29, 2023, from the time we came on board with the executive and the parliament, we have seen positive improvements in so many areas. I am not here to speak for the heads of security agencies, but from our position in parliament and our interaction with the new heads of the agencies, we have noticed, you know, considerable improvement. We have equally interacted with them, and we understand that they know exactly why Mr. President has appointed them into these critical sectors. During our interaction, at the course of considering the budget, we're also going to be interfacing with the heads of the agencies. And at the moment, we have a guide, which is the legislative agenda of the 10th Assembly. This document talks about strengthening good governance, accountability and transparency in the conduct of government businesses. A good example of that, you know, some MDAs, you know, in the previous year were not able to implement in full, you know, their budget, not necessarily because there was no money, but because of the ineptitude, the leadership of these organizations. And we have seen, you know, Mr. President making changes in some of these agencies. More is still expected. But as a parliament, we are not going to fold our hands and watch, you know, people that we know lack the capacity, you know, to lead these agencies, because we'll be failing the Nigerian people if at the end of the day we don't speak out. You know, we see these people, and that is why part of our oversight function as a parliament is to interface directly with the MDAs. So in the past, we saw, you know, how some MDAs were invited to the parliament and they failed to show up. But today, under the leadership of the current, this National Assembly leadership, and the level of partnership and cooperation between the parliament and the executive, everyone saw yesterday the humility which Mr. President delivered that document. We saw his sincerity of purpose, you know, in a way and manner Mr. President has carried out this business. And, you know, the parliament, coming to the parliament yesterday for Mr. President was a homecoming. He used to be one of us. He has respect for the parliament. Okay. So those people, you know, who will be privileged, you know, to serve the Nigerian people and think they will not be answerable to the parliament, these people who are going to fish them out and recommend to Mr. President their absolute removal from office. And that is why I will advise some of these MDAs, you know, to particularly those coming to defend their budget before the House of Representatives. You must look into our working document, our guide, which is the legislative agenda of the 10th Assembly.
Okay, that's why I want to ask, you know, and my next question to you, because I mean, just after, you know, hours after the presentation of the budget, of course, you know that the opposition, you know, parties and others will, of course, air their views. Some have come to say, look, this is not the project that, you know, will actually renew hope for Nigeria. In fact, I want to use the word, the opposition said this is a strangulating budget and called on the National Assembly to critically, do the needful according to them. Now, you had a chance to scrutinize the MTEF even before now, and that's why you upped the parameters and all that. What will be the content of your scrutiny? Because Speaker Abbas did say that National Assembly was going to really scrutinize the budget and ensure that this really addressed the interests of Nigerians.
Well, you see, the quality of men and women elected into the 10th Assembly.
What are the things you are looking out for?
Yes, we are all united. It's very right for people outside the parliament, to speak from their political leanings, religious background and ethnic and what's so called. But in parliament, we are united together, and what are the things that have united us? Provision of critical infrastructure for the masses of our country. Interventions in the educational sector. Today, the security challenges that we have in Zafara are not different from what the man from Anyocha, somewhere in Anambra, is facing. The same security problems that we have in Borno may not necessarily be the same, but it's not far from what someone else in Badagry is facing. So these are the problems that have united us. Our focus in the National Assembly is to see how to make life better for the average Nigerian citizen.
There's no doubt about that.
If that is our focus, then the projects, the programs that have been articulated in this document, will be looking at how well they are going to impact on the citizens of our country. And let me tell you the beautiful thing about the National Assembly. For instance, the House of Representatives Committee on Finance. We call it Equal Representation Committee. It means it's a committee that has representatives from the 36 states, including the FCT. And when people were nominated, to constitute this committee, it was done across political party lines. So it therefore means that even the Committee for Appropriation in the House of Rep today, you have members of Labour Party in that committee, you have members of ABGA, YPP, PDP, and APC. So when they look at budget document estimates, they are not looking at it on the basis of, what the executive wants to achieve. It is on the basis of what the people who have elected them into parliament, what will benefit the people. Because in another 3 to 4 years, some persons will be seeking re-election. So if you are in a parliament like that and the programs that you have supported, the budget document that you have scrutinized, at the end of the day, fails to address the problems confronting your people, how do you go back to the same people after 4 years
the
for
deficit, what does the National Assembly intend to do with funding the deficit? Because according to the budget, the appropriation bill, funding will be drawn from the private sector and national borrowings. Already there's been a request for about 7 point something or 8 trillion dollars borrowing, and also 100 million pounds borrowing. So what do you intend to do about
experts have advised us long before now that, one, there's a need for us to invest more in providing critical infrastructure. So if government approaches the parliament with the intention of borrowing, not to squander, but to address critical needs of the people, like today, nobody can shy away from the fact that our higher institutions need urgent intervention as much as we want to intervene in the area of security. Our health sector is in their need of resources. The 774 local government areas that we have in this country, not all of them have, proper health facilities, to cater for our people. So we are going to look at this document. If government intends to draw resources from external sources, from the private sector, to intervene, towards solving these challenges. Our problem with the executive, I do not envisage any. But at the cost of implementing the 2024 budget as we progress, if they are not able, to to utilize the money. And that takes us back to the speech of Speaker Tajuddin Abbas yesterday. The parliament is, you can see people who are passionate about the interests of the common and average citizen of this country.
All right.
So all we want, is spending, government spending programs and projects that affect the common citizens of this country. Let's take the conditional cash transfer, for instance. The government has told us we are saving from subsidy removal, in order to intervene directly, to touch 50 million Nigerians. So, as a parliament, we are eagerly waiting to see how they are going to draw the list of these 15 million Nigerians, how they are going to implement it, not like in the past, before we came into office, where we heard that the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry was given a certain amount of money and they went into markets distributing this money to people without a database. This parliament, the 10th assembly, will not tolerate that kind of spending.
All right. Of course, we want to get to know how that will play out, of course, in the coming months. But I want to just quickly get to you, Professor Owaleke. The government, of course, the conversation on the budget would continue, of course, in the coming days and months. Of course, we'll continue to talk about it. But for today, we'll leave the conversation at this point. Many thanks. Honorable Philip Agbese, Deputy Spokesman of the House and Chairman House Committee on Media and Public Affairs. Thank you for joining us. And of course, all eyes are on the National Assembly to see what's going to come out of the budget at the end of the day. Many thanks to Professor Uche Owaleke for joining us. We do appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, so that's our first discussion on Good Morning Nigeria today. We'll take a break. When we come back, our second conversation will be up. Please stay with us.
Is about to hit your